But we had a great session from the fireside chat where the key aspect we talked about, the Dean Saravanan and Dr. Gusha talked about was, as we think about data science and AI and analytics, we have to keep the human in the loop. It has to be customer-centric, human-centric. It's not the mentality of using technology as a way of replacement without taking into account how can we augment human abilities as opposed to replacing it. And when we think about these AI models, we need to understand what is the nature of the data, and does the data that exists in the past, the legacy data, does it have the information that we need to make decisions which align with our values that we have as a company? And the second session built on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we had great panel speakers talk about, again, the themes which came out is that when we think about digital transformation, there are a lot of it makes businesses efficient in many domains. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we are inclusive. We don't want, as Manish pointed out, an apartheid system between digital versus non-digital people in the organization. Because there are a lot of human relationships which are not captured by algorithms, and when we design these decisions based on data that we have, the data may not capture it. They cannot measure it. So how do we bring these together in our organizations as we think through digital transformation? So we have 3 great panelists with different experiences, and I'm going to start asking them questions along these lines. So Prakash, go with it. Go for it.
I think you can hear me, right? In the back? Yeah, awesome, okay. So it is interesting that you were asking about this change in the transformation, and prior to this, I just met with some of the students, and interestingly, the same topic came up about transformation and people and grounded. And if you can't hear, you have to raise your hands. You can just let me know that you can't hear. And if you don't want to hear, that's okay too. Okay, so, it's what is important as you drive the transformation. So I was giving them examples that, and those of you who have been in the industry for a while, you would have heard this phrase quite often, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so extremely important to stay grounded. Transformation is driven at the roots level when you said human, because those are the folks that are making the transformation work. And top-down rarely is successful. It can work, but it rarely is successful. So the human portion of it, in fact, in our ADP, we have something called, we say, easy, smart, and human. And so that much we focus on human side of things, regardless of what transformation that you're working on.
Dr. Gopi?
Thank you. See, first, I believe you guys going through multiple sessions and multiple people talk about digital transformations. In a way, if you look at it, digital transformation word in IT, VUCA world and everywhere, it's one of the highly, in a way, abused word. Because if you ask all the CIOs or CTOs or CDOs in the world, if you call them, can you define what is digital transformation? Trust me, 90% you will get the different answers from each CIO. It doesn't mean they are not wrong, you know, and or they may be right also. It is like a Rashomon movie, the same scenes, you know, getting from different multiple dimensions. Or if you guys familiar with the South India, there is a movie called Virumandi, which is also multi-dimension movie, which is you will get a picture of what is digital transformation. So it is important to understand, can I just upload my physical printed copies, upload in digital? Is it fine? Or just if I open my Excel sheet and update my data, is it digital transformation? Or can I upload all my servers, migrate into virtualization and upload in cloud? Can I call it, I done my transformation? Or if I migrate from some small vendor to SAP kind of ERP, So am I done with digital? Or I convert all my application into mobility, mobile application. So can I call it digital? All the answer yes, and the answer no also. Because there is so much information lying out, and it is about the organizations, the way they take care, protect, serve to all the customers as well as the employee in a way highly efficient, you know. So when we talk about it, the transformation, it doesn't mean it's only about the technologies, right? Technology is as per industry standard, everybody know it's at 80-20. 20% is technology, 80% is about people. And any digital transformation journey, if you look at it, it will happen sometime accidentally. For example, if you look at the year of 2016, Paytm, the UPI launched by government. And many people not aware, it's very, very minimum people start to use. The same 2016, Jio also launched mobility and data services. And the same year, demonetization happened. So I take it as it's a coincidence, okay? But at the same time, there is a planned event also happen. If you really look at the way all the industry is going, you don't have a choice. It's not your choice. You know, all the industry moving there, I will use my own pen and paper. That's not going to work out. So when the industry forces, you have to do. You don't have a choice. Third is, if government taking certain calls, you have to move, like a GST. You don't have a choice. So when the government decision change, your supervisor or any leadership change, or organization level change, or environmental change, it will lead. The biggest example is the COVID. Do we have a choice? No. Large migration happened in the COVID period. So it's about to happen in that way. But at the same time, there is a consequence. Sorry, I'm taking extra minutes. There is other indirect impact also happen. For example, there is a chewing gum. People started to search about, there is a big decline on chewing gum buying. You know, people searching it, why chewing gum buying is getting day by day less. When they find out, it is because of iPhone, they find out. Because before, when you're standing in the mall, when you get bored, you go and pick up some chewing gum, you eat it. Now, when you're standing in a queue, what you're doing? You'll open your mobile, Reels. Some people now taking Reels also. They are creating now Insta Reels there itself. So the entire thing, which is completely irrelevant to you, also will get impacted by some digital transformations. So it is important to understand where you stand. It is like booking a ticket. You want to go to Delhi, but you should know where you stand. The other guy book a ticket from Chennai to Delhi, it doesn't mean you can book the same ticket. You should know that you are in Mumbai. So for that, first basic assessment is required. Where are you standing and how you can move it? Then you can move to the right place. Okay, thanks.
Great. Biju.
What is digital transformation? Is it because technology can do some wonderful thing? We say, wow, now digital has transformed, that particular industry or that particular area. Let me give you two examples. One, it is regarded where, digital or AI, one of the greatest or maybe the best creative output AI has so far created is, we all know Beethoven has created only 9 symphonies. But just before he was sort of writing the initial notes of the 10th symphony, he died. And then some of the AI experts, the music experts, the technology experts came together and said, let's make the 10th symphony. And they did. They did make the 10th symphony of Beethoven. And the Beethoven experts heard it and said, yeah, this is wonderful. Brilliant. AI has done a wonderful job. So have we digitally transformed because of that? Let me give you another example. E-commerce. It's where every company worth its salt says e-commerce. Wow, that is the way the greatest technology, the best of the back end, whole has been done. Great. 1994, when we started digital advertising and marketing, the click-through rate was 40%. Now, what is the click-through rate in 2022 or 2023? Now, in the meantime, search engine optimization, data analytics, the best of the technology companies, best of the minds, all came together the last 28 years. Now, the click-through rate has come down to 0.35. There's been 100 times reduction in the click-through rate in digital marketing. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which he wrote, has been listened to by millions of people. Just go search on YouTube on the 10th Symphony and listen to and say how many people listened to the 10th Symphony of Beethoven. I just want to premise by saying there is a whole lot of jubilation about creation of technology and say, oh, we have digitally transformed. Technology is there. But how much of adoption of that technology is happening? And I just want to mention that unless organizations and individuals adopt that particular technology on a sustained basis, digital transformation just does not happen.
Thank you. Continuing building on the theme, given your experience in the HR domain, and the point that you made earlier, that a key part of your decision making is how do you bring the human's values into your system? How is digitization ensuring that these intangible or non-measurable aspects are part of the HR systems as you digitize the process? And again, as you pointed out, that digitization means different to every CEO, every different company. So keeping that in mind, give us some examples of some of the challenges that you've had in doing that so that our students can learn from it. And also, because HR also has gotten a lot of flack for not including and making decisions which based on past data, which the first session talked about, which itself was biased, and that itself led to decisions which hurt some people and also the company reputation along the way. Go for it.
Thank you. Good question. I'll actually answer two different examples. One, I've been with ADP. I just finished 4 months yesterday, so I can't give you a lot of examples of the transformation that I've been part of, but what I can talk to you about some of the things that we have started. And in my prior organization from Walters Clover, I can also talk about an example that truly has helped in them thinking differently. So I'll start with the second one first, and then I'll come back to the ADP. Most of us, if we have been earning income, if you're not filing taxes, don't have to raise your hands. That's between you and your government. But most of us are filing taxes, and a lot of the CPAs are traditionally used to having their tax software sitting in front of their PCs and that they are controlling and they're managing. But a lot of the technology innovations that have happened is moved that capability to be a SaaS solution. Now, it's been a very painful process to move those CPAs who are used to having their software on their favorite machine to something being in the cloud, because the data is not sitting in front of them, the software is not sitting there, they're not installing that CD and installing it themselves. So it was a long journey, which most of the folks involved thought, duh, this makes sense. I mean, why would somebody not do it? But it took a long time to bring everybody along. Obviously, there were some people who have been, like Dr. Biju was giving example of phone in the line queue. People who grew up in that phone in phone life were very easy to adopt. And some people who have not been growing up in their culture, it was a very painful process for us, not for them, and for them also because they felt that we were pushing the change on them rather than with them. So that was a big learning is, as you're transforming, you transform with the people, not you do things to them. So that was a big from a prior organization. And in ADP, ADP does two things. One is HR and one is payroll. And we know both of the domains extremely well. We've been doing it for a very long time. But the market has changed, which is there are a lot more of small businesses that are coming up. And I'll give somebody who opens a pizza store and has 2 or 3 employees or 5 employees. They are not interested in trying to understand HR or payroll. They want to focus on making pizzas. That is all they want to focus on. In fact, I had met another gentleman who was building accelerators for CPUs. So very technical. And his company was about 100, 200 people based out of California. He says, Prakash, I'm using ADP because I'm not interested in HR. Not that he can't be. He's so technically, he and his team is very capable of. Said, that's not my focus. So as long as you can do this for us, awesome, you do it. You tell me what you want me to do, I'll do it. Because they're also driving the change. So he understood the transformation that he has to make and what we are trying to do. But our biggest, I'll call it, a pleasant surprise was the small business owners who have 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, who are a lot more willing because they are least interested in payroll. But they want to make sure that the people are getting paid on time. So for us, that was a very pleasant surprise. We thought that they will push back quite a bit. But in fact, they are driving a lot of things saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to deal with any of this time entry or anything like that. Can you just take the entire thing and do it for us? So we call it the total source business. So we had to create a lot of the total source business just for managing that entire operations for small business. So again, for ADP, it has been there for a while, but for me as an individual who joined ADP, that's a very interesting insights that I didn't think about how the transformation is happening, where they're driving that transformation for us, or asking us to do that.
A very interesting point, Prakash. So what you're saying is that in some ways, when you look at payroll versus HR, the smaller companies are choosing the service that enables them to outsource activities which would enable them to focus on what they want to achieve. And one of the earlier sessions, one of the speakers asked, is this a leveler? Are these technologies levelers, or are they creating further differentiation? And what you find in your experiences, it is leveling in terms of...
It is leveling more, yeah.
So what kinds of... So is it the smaller businesses that...
No, so I'll give another example, and I'm sure you've heard of Amazon, you've sure heard of Microsoft. They're slightly technical companies, and they're I think both of them are $3 trillion companies, but they can do whatever they want to do, but they still come to us for HR because they want to focus on other things, and we are focusing on this one. And same thing, I mean, L&T, it happens that I have a very good friend who runs the education of L&T, and anything on the things that happen, you probably will not go from here to the Mumbai airport without dealing with something that L&T has done, right? And so can each of the cities themselves do it through small contractors? Sure, you can do it. But why do people go into L&T? Same things, right? So some things that you know are your strengths and you're focusing on it. And that's how you're driving it.
Great. Thank you. Gopi, the question I have is, L&T is a huge conglomerate with multiple divisions. And you, as you pointed out, even, I'm sure, given your perspective, even within L&T, what digital transformation means is very different from one to the other. So give us an example, some examples, if you can, of the challenges of one of the legacy businesses as it moved forward in its, within quotes, digital transformation journey.
Thank you. See, largely the organization moving from digital transformation to modernizations. From modernization, now they move to experience as a service. Because each and everything is impacting either user or employee or customer or someone. So it's about the experience today. It's not about, because why you are going to buy something from Star Cafe, because not coffee, you'll get it in 10 rupees also outside. It's about the experience, right? So similarly, each and every individual are very, very important now. It's about the experience. And instead of giving one simple example, I'll give another example which is everyone can correlate also. For example, in a pharma industry, when you look at that certain tablets, the same time, sometime it works, sometime it may not work. So when we keep receiving certain complaints internally, so we thought, okay, let's investigate deeper what is happening. When we go, we need to track each and every activity, how we can do that. But it's humanly not possible to do each and every activity. So we come up with the simple blockchain solutions, which is nothing but digital transformations. So when you implement digital transformation in a way of blockchain, it will track each and every activity, starting from manufacturing, what is the temperature is maintained, what is the coolant maintained, how many minutes it's in that place, how many minutes it's in the staging area, how many minutes in the warehouse and logistics, then how much time it takes to shipping into the cargoes or something, and how much temperature maintained in the cargo. Certain medicine need exactly 24-degree temperatures. So all these things tracked, then we put a GPS in the tracker and integrate everything, just put a dashboard to see. Then we find out there is a particular truck, it's moving, it is everything on time, but what happened, he instead of driving 40 kilometer speed, he driving in 80 kilometer speed, and he stops somewhere, switch off the engine, switch off the air condition, switch off everything, and he take a rest for a couple of hours. So the temperature when variation, your tablet chemical will not work as you expected. So this blockchain solved this simple problem, but imagine that without digital transformation, it's not possible to achieve that. So this is one quick thing, and to just for the students' informations, Mr. Biju mentioned about symphony, and you mentioned about CDs and all. So we go a little deeper. Why the CDs, when they invented, only 700 MB CDs. So what happened when there is a competition between Philips and Sony? They are fighting who will release the first CD. So they just want to launch immediately. So Sony went with Beethoven's Room Number 4. There is a song. So when they burn it, it came exactly 700 MB. So it has become a standard. So they want to launch, and Philips understand they are going. They also launch the same day. Evening 5 o'clock they are going to launch. Sony pre-point. I will launch 3 o'clock. And when they go there, they don't know how to play because there is no hole. So they call this guy, who is there? So the technician, Dutch guy was there. He gave one small quarter of Dutch quarter. They put a hole. They remove the hole and they put the CD and they played. So everything looked like a coincidence, but it is one of the classical case for even digital transformation, how fast we can accelerate that. Yes.
Great comment. So the point you're making, Gopi, is that the pharma example, what the blockchain enabled is to look at each of these activities, which are thousands of activities, and it allows it to detect that much faster to see why were these tablets, some of them working, some of them not working, what was the cause. And the human aspect to check that would have taken much longer given the complexity involved and the number of steps involved.
It's not only that, human complex is way, way forward. That's the beauty of digital transformation. So what you do normally, imagine that going bus or train or flight, you normally pay very high because of the fastest. Same thing for even the mainframe, you pay heavy because of the fastest. Similarly, each and everything we are moving toward to the fastest. And now Elon Musk are talking about within 1 hour, New York to Mumbai can be possible by rocket and all these things. So everything is fastest we are talking about. Similarly, even you take in another way, the chairman used to say one thing, before the cough syrup, when they launched, it was 100 plus rupees. The people who operate, temperatures, the same temperature, they used to get some 2,000, 3,000 rupees. Now what happened? Cough syrup become 25 rupees. The same employee become 30,000 rupees. So the margin is almost gone. So now they have to operate, they have to survive. So what is the way out? All the repeated task, whatever the repeated activity, whatever the easy things, we have to do that, we don't have a choice. But at the same time, that's why the company culture come into the picture. We will not just left out that people. upgrade them into the latest way, how they can contribute to the society as well as the company. So when we upgrade them, of course, using the same digital transformation way for all the employees, and this one can be repeated task, can be IoT integrated with automations. That is also digital transformation. Company also makes certain money, people also grow parallelly.
Great example. You are passionate about adoption of. Go ahead and tell us what are some of has been your experience in the adoption of these new technologies, especially keeping in mind your experience in the behavioral areas. How do you find this?
The reason why I talk about adoption and the whole facet of human behavior to be integrated with technology, let me give you, possibly one of the greatest technological innovations that actually saved the whole world, which is when COVID came in. And I think people said we need a vaccine. And people said vaccine, it takes about 8 to 10 years to make a vaccine. People said, no way, please make something. So the best technological minds in the world, in the medical world, came together. And in a matter of about 4 months, they cracked and they made a vaccine. And then they said, it has to be taken now at very cold temperatures across the world. The best cooling companies in the world came together and they figured out a way to take it across all the place. But he said, how do you do? The best of the supply chain companies, the FedEx and others, they came together and they made sure that this was available in a matter of 6 months. The COVID vaccine was there in the nearby healthcare center. And what is the problem that we had to solve? We had a person who's sitting at home, hey, there is a COVID vaccine there. It's a life and death situation. If you take it twice, you will not die. So can you go to the healthcare center and get yourself vaccinated? I just want to remind that in a life and death situation, this country, just a few years back, in front of us there, one of the greatest technological innovation that happened stood there. Frozen, sitting there in the healthcare centers. My team did this study across the world, US, Pakistan, India, multiple countries, and saying, why did people hesitate to take the vaccine? And one of our biggest insight was that was not a medical decision. It was a political decision. If you had faith in the political leadership of a country, I think people took the vaccine. 35% of Americans did not take the vaccine. So it wasn't because they were not aware of it. It's just to reinforce the whole point. Because somewhere in this jubilation of technology, we believe as long as we make something, wow, this is great. Just next Wednesday, I have a talk. I don't want to mention the name of the company because that name of the company is there in digital transformation using the cutting edge of technology in the FMCG world. That is the cutting edge company. And what is the topic I'm asked to speak on? How do you get the business people to accept the dashboards and other things that we are making? And then how do you get them to adopt what we are doing? It's just to remind you, more so the students, to tell you that this whole learning is not one siloed approach to things. It is a not even a multi, I think Mr. Birla uses the word transdisciplinary, where principles and human behavior and design and this and all come together. At Fractal, we pioneered data analytics in India. And so we are the world leader. We are the world leader in consumer data analytics and AI, Fractal analytics. But in Fractal analytics, every team is comprised of AI experts, engineering experts, and design and human behavior experts. That's how all our teams are. And that is the way we make sure we develop the best of the technology, the most cutting edge of the technology, but it gets adopted. Let me talk about just as I end, one of the most outstanding products that Fractal developed, a company called Cure.ai. Now, Cure.ai is being groomed within Fractal. And what does the Cure.ai does? There is obviously, radiologist looks at your x-rays and then says, do you have tuberculosis or not? Now, Cure.ai has developed an AI product which looks at your chest x-ray and is able to now read the chest x-ray far more, what we call accurately, than what a radiologist could do. Now, I'm sure all of you learned marketing. And how could I have positioned it? And as the way the things have been, now let's replace all the radiologists. Radiologists, bye-bye, see you. Now we have Cure.ai. They will do it far more accurately than that. We didn't do that because we knew that it's not about taking on the humans. It is about, and so what did Prashant, who's the CEO, said? Wherever there's no radiologist, we will install this particular product. So in those places where no radiologists are there, all they need is an X-ray, put it out there, and the person sitting in the city can actually now read your this one and detect tuberculosis, which is one of the largest killers in India, now can be taken across. So instead of taking on the humans, we complement it. And I've been asked to head Niti Aayog's team in the panel policy-making team on human-centered AI. Just yesterday we were discussing it at the Niti Aayog. What are we saying? We are the largest population in the world. Now, how can I have an AI technology that says replace all this largest population of the world and we'll have machines doing it? That's very clear in India. We will have, and I think our dream is that every poor, in the poorest man at the lowest end, will get lifted up thanks to AI. But that needs a huge adoption. Just to remind us that in life and death situation, we are not geared to adopt. Why? Because of the problem with our brain. Our brain uses only 13 watts of electricity. And the more we think, it burns up more electricity. And thinking, adopting new things is all about, doing things, is burning up. Brain is not geared to change. Brain is geared to just do the same thing again and again. We have to understand the construct of a human brain while developing our technologies.
Thank you. I wanted to go back to you and give us, because L&T, and one of the things you pointed out that we have to bring everyone on board. What are some of the challenges or insights you had in this process of bringing on board the people who are non-digital, working with the digital?
See, if you go by simple statistics, there is a projection there in a couple of years, 95 million jobs will be created just because of AI. That is a projection. And people, we normally afraid about losing a job. The biggest challenge normally people see is the resistance. If you ask me, it is a very good thing, because if you take it, resistance, it is never be a issue. That is very good for any company as well as people, everyone, because if you are good resistance, we survived in COVID. And at the same time, any resistance, it will take time, unless if it is acceptable, people will change. See, imagine that even since ADP is here, many HR system people build, SAP, Oracle, so many things, But when it's coming to appraisal, what people does? They will send you an Excel sheet, right? It doesn't mean they don't know the technologies. They know very well. But it is not exactly meeting what they're looking for. They want to do dynamically, spontaneously, and everything. So now, if you look at not only limited to L&T, similar like L&T kind of companies, the largest portion is, it's not about the technology. It's about the way we live, the way we operate. So when you look at that angle, it is the journey. It is not just a one-time activity. Okay, today I completed digital transformation project. That means we are completed. It's about the journey. It's about the people. It's about the process. It's about the technology. Or you go in another way around also. It's about the people. It's about the way they operate. The methodology. The methodology is the important thing. For example, there is a beautiful digital transformation project you've done, but your supervisor completely against it. You really think anybody will go against the supervisor? He never going to accept that. So it changes from everywhere unless they not realize that this will bring some change to my organization. It will not bring, they know that very well. Otherwise they'll say, top level, they decide something, let's implement this tool and technology and everything is fine. But we all know that it is never survive. Anything you force hardly also, it will survive for some time, that temporary. After that, it will go back to the same normal, or if leadership change or anything change, things back to the normal. So it is important to make sure that people spend a lot of time only for the orientations, understanding it, how it is going to help, and how we can see the adoption in a way. If ML is there, it will give you the complete trend of what happened so far. AI is there, it will advise you, or it will give you multiple ways. Not only generative AI, now design generative AI also came. So you spend so many days and days out, still is there. Or you take the organization into a 4 maturity model. One organization, they will do in a way, identifying used case for the AI. There is other set of organization, second level, who are able to not only identify, they will do the POC kind of thing. They will do the proof of concepts. Third organization, they will implement also. And they will start to see what is happening, benefits and everything. The fourth level, they will keep the AI, which is, I know that Mr. Vijay is not okay with that, but at the same time, AI will be part, we like it or not. It is going to be there, and it is not about replacement. It is going to add the value. Entire law, it is going to change. Everybody knows that. And the way we operate, it is going to change. Because a decision, it doesn't mean it will take a decision. It will advise what decision will be better in these probabilities or whatever it is. End of the day, human only going to take a call. But the way we mature, the way we feed the data, the way we better to do. I'll give you another example. I was in another largest university, and one of the students asked the same question. So can I study Python for future? So it's a very simple question, but
Can I study Python for future?
So the answer is yes and no. If you think only the Python going to change the world, no. Because everybody knows that AI mature in a way within another 2-3 years, it will give you much better assistance in Python, or it will come with a new language also, we really don't know. But at the same time, okay, can I not learn it? No, you should learn it. It is important for you to learn it, whatever it is today. So it doesn't mean you can just simply ignore and move forward. So interesting fact is, understand that each company and organizations, the way their vision, mission is different, and understand that priorities, understand that what they need, and understand that necessity, then act accordingly, then things will go smooth. Otherwise, we force anything, it never works.
The points you're making are that however you define digital transformation, it's a journey. And the journey of the transformation process can only be sustained if you bring people along all the way from bottom up. It cannot be top down. If it's top down, it'll work for some time, but then it'll go back to its equilibrium. And you have to build the culture, build the method, build the process so the methodology and the process you develop, the more inclusive and transparent it is, the more likely it is that the organization will adopt at varying speeds, depending on the people involved, but it's more likely to survive and sustain as you go along. And the example on Python you talked about, that you advise the student, yes, you should take Python, but Python itself will not enable you to continue on your successful journey, points to the idea that curiosity and willingness to be open to new ideas and new technologies has to be there consistently all through. And learn that you're learning Python as a way to enable you to help the company, whichever organization you're working, but be mindful that things will evolve. Python will have some other version, some other things, and it has to be adapted to the organization that you're working in. What is the culture? What markets they are in? What is the nature of the business they are in? Those are the critical things you have to sensitize yourself to ensure that the learnings you have on Python are applicable and valued by your teams in that company. Prakash, your thoughts on this, and given?
No, actually, I think I was saying earlier that I probably used slightly different words, but top-down organizations rarely survive for a long time. If you want change, lasting change, it is always grassroots level, and that's how change is driven. And the other way I said was, if you do changes, people always will remember if you did the change to them rather than with them. And that's a very mindset shift more than anything else. If any one of us dumped any of the transformations we've been talking about on the people, it'll be a little bit, but they'll go back to wherever they were going to. And that's how the leaders come and go also, because, oh yeah, that was another failed attempt. But as you work with the grassroots levels, frontline team members, then you will see really change happening. And that's how transformations, I mean, that also becomes very subjective. I think, Gopi, you said it right in the earlier on. All of us will claim some transformational success, however it is. It's like in the minds of the CIO, or however you want to define it. But it's still lasting transformations, that's how they take place.
Thank you. That was a great, that was a fantastic example of COVID that you gave, that the technology was there. The supply chain problems are figured out, but it is the last mile issue of adopting. And I've done studies in the US context during COVID, and what we found was that, working with a company which delivers these medicines, that in states which are red states in the US, even the doctors were not encouraging the patients to get the vaccine. So it's not just the patients, but the doctors who are scientists look at evidence. So that is the problem of adoption, is that it can happen at multiple levels if the environmental context is not conducive to that adoption of technology, kind of thing. So I think I'm just keeping track of time. I'm going to open it up for any questions for any of the panel members or for anyone in the panel. Yes. Hi. Kitty?
Hello, I'm Gaurav. Firstly, thank you so much for the session, very insightful. Just one question, although there are a lot of processes and frameworks available for digital transformation, but there was this report which says that 70% of the digital transformation often fails because they don't end up prioritizing customer experience much. So how important is that? How fundamental is that in terms of failure of, let's say, digital transformation?
So let me see if I got your question right. You said that when companies do the data organization, they don't take into account the customer experience?
Right. They lack focus, especially in terms of customer experience, which is why they do focus on, let's say, operational and technology part of it, but then they end up missing the customer experience aspect of it.
So not enough importance to the customer experience in this process.
See, the customer experience today is completely different from before. For example, you want to buy a car before. What we do? Maybe it may be difficult for you to say that, but in our generations, we will not check anything. We will go to each showroom and we will ask the salespeople, please tell me what it is. And they will open and they will explain engine, half of the things we don't understand, but still they will explain. Then we'll go to other showroom. And it's a big journey to buy one car. Now, today world, the digital marketing evolved in a way, people already decided which model also, very clear. They will not even go to many showrooms. They will just directly go to that guy, what is the waiting period for this? And what is a loan incentive? Can I get some other accessories extra? So the negotiation is very simple and small circle now. So the customer experience within that, it is like advertisement. Within few seconds, you have to get the impressions. And within few minutes you have to do. Then I have to give you one small example of dark data. For example, if you log in your HDFC account, you are entering only your username and password, that's it. But actually behind the scene, the company capturing your browsers, operating system, which IP you are using, which operating system and which computer you are using, and your cookies also. Recently you visited Amazon, red color Adidas shoe also, they know that. Or you visited any other things, information, cookies, they know that. Now that information, all other information they capture in dark data, which is not a direct data, and the dark data will sold or reused in different ways. Now what happened, the experience they want to give, You may confuse, I seen this one, but why they are following me in my mobile, or why they are following me in different place. And now even Amazon started certain particular location, the experimental. For example, if you do that, if you go to some shopping mall, the ad will follow you. For example, there is a unit, they will put it everywhere. If you visited the same Adidas red color shoe in your laptop, when you enter, somehow, some of the way, they will identify you are in that mall. And that mall will show you red color, now it's 20%, price is reduced. So ad will follow you. That is already started that. Similarly, there is hundreds of experience we can tell that. End of the day, it is about experience two different things. One is people want to push you something you don't want to buy, which is you will make you buy. Another one you really want to buy, they will keep it as much little far away possible. If you go to any supermarket, what exactly you always buy month and month, it never be in first row. You have to walk all the way last, you will get that. The first, what they want to sell, they will keep it. But at the same time, they have to maintain the customer experience. So they will keep talk about, if you are a female, they will talk about a lot of percentage and other thing. If you are a male, they will talk about other preferred points and any other models. So the experience is far, far better than before, actually.
You said 75% of this one failed because of, you said, customer experience. Now I'll rephrase it. It's because we don't understand the consumer. Because our existing theories of understanding human behavior are outdated by at least 40, 50 years. Now, I finished my MBA 34 years back. I can assure you, I can look at your consumer behavior book. I can almost tell you that it's the same book that I learned 34 years back is the book that you're learning right now. Look at finance, look at systems, look at every other book has changed. And I have enough, one day when I come back or wherever, I'll tell you the basic theories of human behavior that has been taught and that have been practiced through market research and other things are fundamentally flawed. The rational man on which we have created all our thinking is fundamentally flawed. And unless we re-look at human behavior, the very theories of human behavior, the very market research practices, I worked in initial 17 years of my career, launched a whole lot of brands in this country, including Reliance Infocom, the biggest marketing launch in this country. But none of those brands exist today. Now today I know it's because that 75%, 90% of the marketing decisions fail. 90% of the M&As fail. But we just somewhere talk about in digital transformation, some great technology that we invented, and we hide our inadequacy of not able to understand you and me. That is the problem. And unless we find at an academic level to a practice level, unless we fundamentally change it, this failure rate is going to continue. That means every other department, supply chain, production, works at a Six Sigma level of success, but every other department that is dealing with human behavior will continue to have a Six Sigma level of failure.
All right, a lot of hands going up.
Thank you. Very engaging talk. One thing which I feel is that, digital transformation depends on what problem it is solving. If it is solving a problem and if the leadership buy-in is there, it will work. And for example, IRCTC, we all remember the IRCTC website. It used to be so painful, but it was solving a problem of you standing in line for hours and hours and to get a ticket booked. So now, even with that challenge that we had initially because of the scale of operations that we are facing in India, but leadership was there, the vision was there that we need to solve this problem. So if there is a buy-in in terms of solving a problem and commitment from the leadership, it will work. And now it's not the point of whether we are going to have digital transformation in our organization, it's when. I think sooner or later, I think it's going to percolate to all the sectors. Healthcare, I think, is the last sector where it is coming in, as you mentioned, regarding the Cure AI and the way they are, implementing the radiological solution for radiology. And that's a challenge in most of the remote areas. What about the Northeast and other part and other remote areas? So I think it's going to work. And what is required is the leadership buy-in and the clearly statement of which problem it is solving. Do you agree to that, or there is some other view regarding the same?
Now, one, you can talk about leadership approving. I've worked with the railways a lot, and at least several projects. But one thing I can assure you, there's nobody who understands the man on the train, man on the platform, better than even the general managers of Indian Railways. Again, I would actually say that leadership, because I take sessions for the general managers of Indian Railways, they understand the consumer. So IRTC, it's actually a brilliant success. I'm not surprised at all. Let's take EdTech. It was the talk of the town just 5 years back. We said we transformed education. Now professors from this one can sit and take classes. Now Harvard, and what happened to that industry? So I think we all, when we look, and I have written in my column, it's because there is a very fundamental difference between when students come to this place, sit in a classroom, and then listen to it. There is an interaction. There is an effort heuristics that goes in. Whereas when I'm in front of a smartphone and I'm listening to a professor, it's easy to get in, easy to get out. There's very little effort that is involved in. So there's a fundamental difference. We never took that into consideration. And my team has studied e-learning. Look at all the e-learning, number of people who join. Now look at the dropout rates, 98%. So I give credit to IRCTC. It's because technology is true in all of them. To me, again, I would give it railways and IAS officers I work. They understand the ground people so brilliantly. Whereas people like us who sit in the AC offices and develop tech products will fail.
Sorry. Actually, of course, I echo with Biju in certain extent, but IRCTC, you put any applications, it will fly like a cake because it's supply versus demand. So people always want to buy. They want to book a ticket, no matter what, irrespective of it. But it will shock you if you go behind the scene of IRCTC. The framework never changed for the last 15 years. We are talking about digital transformation, right? So the 15 years is never changed. The same HP team is managing it, same servers. They may upgrade it to the latest version of, instead of HP 9 become 10 or something, that's it. But behind the scene, nobody afraid to touch the system because it's already running smoothly. Nobody dare to touch it. Similarly, many organizations, if you go to any legacy system, it will continue to run like that because nobody dare to touch. And you rightly pointing out that is the right way to begin with any project. What problem you are solving? You're supposed to ask the same questions to, if you go to any multinational organization or multi-company organization, you ask one thing, you just ask them, how many portal we have, intranet or internet? Trust me, based on how many billion you make, that number of sites you will have. If you are a 3 billion company, you will have some hundreds of intranet, nobody knows why. If you are a 10 billion, you will have some 500. If you are 100 billion, you will have some thousands of intranet. Because each one will create their own digital transformations. Because one guy joined in supply chain, he will create his own. And the another guy change, he will say, first thing what we will do, the previous guy is wrong. I will create new. Because I came from XYZ and I will ensure that you will get the right experience. But intention is good. It is like a movie only. Why only few Rajamouli and other movies only getting hit? Everybody want to make a good movie only. Everybody want to make a money. But only few. Why the entire movie, all the movie they removed actually. We tried to see this weekend what movie available. They removed all the movies, only Pushpa 2 is available. Right? It's good, bad, ugly, it's different. But the thing is, people coming out, they are saying, "Arey, 3 hours, I forgot it, the experience is amazing." So, but if you behind the scene, if you go Pushpa 2 or RR or any other movie, there is hundreds of PMP certified people in behind the scene. There is a time milestone they're tracking like crazy way. And each and every activity, because they don't want to lose each people call sheet, and because not only heroes, there is thousands of sub-actors are there. So if you study only the industry digital transformation itself, it's a massive one, what they are doing. So The problem what you are solving, that only going to be each people have a different approach to solve the problem. Somebody will say this one, or the old saying, no, do not touch something which is already running. But at the same time, the old Marshall saying, the Marshall is a very big guru, what you get here, it will not get there. So you can survive. It is like 100 rupees of 2000. Today, it may be due to inflation, it will be 60 rupees or 50 rupees. And going forward, it will be no value also. So unless you adopt what is happening, unless you are not solving the real problem, you cannot do, and people are getting a better experience. And I strongly believe each and every company fighting, even the small molecule space. You take a simple example of steel. When they started a steel, there was a 30 margin, 25% margin on steel, which is the cheapest steel, which is a low quality steel. And then all the small player getting in, because big player, they want small player to get in there. The small player, they get in 2,500 square feet kind of people, they change the entire rod and everything, which is, we call it TMT, which is, the Bahubali villain and all starring TMT. That is the weakest steel. So what happened, the margin becomes thin, 5%, 6%. Then they move to the second level grade steel, and that margin also is going down. These people, all the people understand there is a margin. They all upstairs, they capture that market, which is the finest steel, which is the third grade, which is you used in cars and all, which is 25-30% margin. These guys again, they capture. Now, whoever allow them, or they take a right decision? Yes, leaders took a right decision only. But they not adopted in a way they're supposed to adopt. They lost all the business. That's why still, except few companies, majority making huge losses. Only few companies, they are making very, very micro level, performance as well as little increment. They don't have a choice. They bring the big leaders or big celebrity for the TMT kind of advertisement, and you are getting there. But of course, you are right. There is a problem, they have to solve it.
We have time for one question at the back. I want to give some of the students time.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jatin. So in my very small experience working in a legacy company, I thought one of the biggest deterrents of digital transformation is the gap between the enthusiasm of like a young team versus, I would not call it complacency, but maybe the lack of knowledge of modern trends or maybe lack of urgency between some of the older folks in the company, right? So firstly, do you think there is a gap? And secondly, if there is, how can we solve for it? And another point that was raised during the discussion was that we sit in our AC chambers and we do not really understand what the problem is outside. So do you think there is a systematic way to involve the real customer who is going to be the user of our solutions? How can we involve that stakeholder in the whole process, not just when we launch the product or launch our service, but how can we involve that stakeholder from the very get-go?
Okay. No, actually, that's a very good question. And that is true for any change, any transformation at any level, large, small. And you mentioned about young and old. I will slightly nuance it, which is not necessarily it's with age. It's with a tenure also. So the number of years or days, however you want to calculate, the person has worked in the company. And why do people ask? I think, Gopi, you joined recently also a new organization. And when people are asking us to come, it's not that Gopi might be very young, I'm not that young. So, but if it is to get different perspectives into the company. Not that they have bad ideas or we have good ideas, that's nothing to that, but different perspectives into the company to help drive what makes sense for that. And that you can call it transformation, you can call it change, you can call all of that. So it's nothing to do with the age. It is more about, complacency does set in because you'll say, yeah, it's working. So I think Gopi said that it's working. Why are you fixing it? What's your problem? So how are you trying to make it better? Again, for the consumer, not for us or anything like that, but how are you making it better? Are you making it simple? You're making it easy for them. And that is the mindset, if you have it. But change is very hard. Don't get me wrong at all. I mean, change is extremely hard. And change for lasting change is even harder.
The question you asked about how do you understand the stakeholder, just spend time with him. Railway told us the biggest cause of death in Mumbai city is people cross the railway tracks. And 10 to 12 people die every day in Mumbai as they cross the railway tracks. And so they were asking my team to study this problem. So from VT to Kalyan station is 65 kilometers. Now, I have visited every meter of that 65 kilometers where an accident has happened. Now, that means I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on the railway tracks of Mumbai to study that particular problem. Finally, we solved it we reduced it by 75%, and it's now Philip Kotler's book, in his book, it's a case study. Now, the only way you can actually understand your target audience is by when you spend time with, and spending is not easy. You also need to do a new market research techniques. So finally, focus groups and interviews don't work. You need, because we have developed a technique called Ethno Lab. So we need new approaches to understanding the target audience. The more the time, the more you spend time in the context of the problem, I think the better will be your understanding of the stakeholders. That's what you need to do. And unless you've done that fairly, very, very strongly, and unless you feel that, okay, now I know what the problem is, I know what's going through the mind of that particular person. I think the gentleman was talking about the importance of problem. Yes, completely, I agree. But understanding the problem, understanding and living that problem is important. Once you do that, technology people that you develop for it will be brilliant.
See, when you call any company for digital transformations, assessment and implementations, typically they will take 3 to 6 months based on the project, or sometimes they will take more time also. So you have to pay huge money just for the consulting services and time dilations, and it may accuracy or there may be not 100% accuracy. So now in the latest world, in the current world, generative AI or whatever the AI you can implement, 80% of the assessment can be done in hours time. You no need to wait 6 months. That is the beauty of the technology. So it is important for you to understand how much we are enabling the technologies, how much we are adopting the technologies. So of course 20% always going to be the human decisions, but it's supposed to be understand because it's based on either it's a good input and good output or garbage input, garbage output. It is depends on each humans. So you cannot say that the tool is not working for me, because you may have to learn more. It is very important to understand. And the biggest problem right now in industry, which is nobody asked the questions, the skill set. You ask any CIOs or CTOs or CEOs also, they will tell only one problem. Right now the biggest shortage is the right skill set people. And that's where the biggest problem. And we are keep talking about, for example, if one particular technology or tool getting famous, everybody will jump on that. But industry always changes, it will adjust and understand and it is move on. So the skill set is the biggest challenge right now. And I think the young students are here, if you guys are able to focus largely, and you can be a superstar in future. Thank you.